Hi everyone! So we had a lot of fun making a pig last week, and so I was thinking it'd be fun to get a little bit more creative and make a character this week. So I was thinking a new series that just recently got released on Disney Plus is Loki, and so I was thinking I would show you how to make Loki today. He turned out to be really fun and not as complicated as I thought, but I thought it'd be really fun to show him off to you and see how we make him. So I look forward to going through this with you, and if you want to follow along, you definitely can. I would love to see any pictures if you do follow. It's going to be really fun, and let's do this together. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and do Loki today and his weapon. So the tools and resources that you're going to need today, if you'd like to follow along, we are going to use some new tools that I haven't really shown yet with making a pom-pom. So this pom-pom is connected. There are two pom-poms. We have a body and a head. And so to connect those, you're going to need to use floral wire. You can get this at a craft store. My favorite is Hobby Lobby. This one is about 18 inches long. It's white. It's one of the lighter end wires, so it's really flexible. It's really thin. They do have thicker ones, usually wrapped in green. Those ones I would recommend getting if you're going to make really big Pompom Pets. Now I'm talking really big. This is relatively small. If you want a big one, here is a really big one that I made. This is a fox, and this is a lot more yarn than just the normal yardage that you use for making a regular pom-pom. We can go into those in a different video. So like I said, you're going to need some floral wire. You're going to need some tools. These are jewelry pliers and cutters. They're very helpful for dealing with and handling the floral wire. With Loki, I also used 3 different types of paper. I have a white one, a green one, and then this fun sparkly gold. This is a very heavy duty gold paper. I only have extra of it because of a different project, so that's why I'm using it. Otherwise, a gold, I don't have one with me right now, but a gold metallic Sharpie can do the same thing. Just color it gold, it just won't be as sparkly. And then for the yarn portion of this craft, I have black yarn. I also have a dark green yarn. I've already made it into a pom-pom. It's just roughly, again, 4 yards made into a pom-pom. I used a fork, and I'll show you how to do it once we get going with his head. So this is going to be his hair portion. This is 2 different steps. The pom-pom itself is half black and half, it looks kind of white. He is a white male in the video or the movies, and so I have it's not white. This is actually a tan or a light cream. They do look different compared to white yarn. So this is the yarn that we're going to use for our craft today. So just to, again, like I said, this is going to be just a regular green pom-pom, just 4 yards. Go ahead and make that up. For the head, we're going to go ahead and do a 2-parter. So this pom-pom, like I mentioned, is half black and half white, but it is one pom-pom. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to start with my 12-inch piece of yarn. It's going to be feeded through the fork. And then for the body of the pom-pom, I have 2 yards of black and 2 yards of this tan or cream. So to make life simpler, I'm going to go ahead and tie the 2 ends together, making a total of 4 yards, because 4 yards is one pom-pom. Now I do that by placing the 2 ends together, and then I'm going to wrap it, make a fish. So if you wrap it, then you make a fish, and then move the tail up and back through the head of the fish, and then slowly pull it so that the knot is as close to the end as possible. Don't pull too much or you'll undo your knot. So we have our knot. Now we have 4 yards of yarn. Okay, so you're going to take your fork, hold on to your tails with your thumb on that same hand. You're going to go ahead and just hold the end part of our 4 yard length yarn. Keep it relatively low on the fork, and then just go ahead and start wrapping. Try to keep the white on one half of the fork. So as you're winding, just keep the yarn, don't go like this. Don't have it travel the fork. You want to go ahead and keep the white as close to the back of the fork as possible for now. And you go until you reach your knot. And then with your knot, have the black start winding next to the white. Don't overlap if possible. And then go ahead and just wind all your black. And there you go. Once done, make sure your tail stays put. Take the back side thread, so from the back side of the fork, you're going to take that, lead it up to the top, to the front of the fork, have it go down. So now we're kind of encircling our yarn. Go ahead and just tie one knot, not a double knot yet. One knot, pull it tight, the yarn kind of comes together. Keep your knot tight, slide it off the fork, and then you're going to tie it super duper tight with the black and the white, and then just tie your two tails together to make a double knot. And now we have a pom-pom, half a pom-pom. Okay, next we're going to make our pom-pom fluffy. I have thread scissors or thread cutters. This is what I like to use because they're small, pointy, and can get the job done pretty well. If you use fatter scissors, it's more difficult because we need the blade to get inside the yarn, and a fatter blade doesn't like to do that. So go ahead and insert your scissors and start cutting. We want to cut the hoop of the yarn so that it starts to fray. One more tidbit I want to mention. This white one that was 12 inches, this is going to be, I'm going to call it the belt. This is important for later on. This belt is what's holding the yarn together. And right here, so the belt of this pom-pom goes around like this currently. So if I turn it this way, it's still, the belt's still this way because the belt's going this way. Of our belt, you can put things through it. So with our floral wire, we're going to be putting the floral wire through the belt. So if you're making a pom-pom, you don't necessarily want to put your floral wire against the belt because it probably won't stick as much and it might actually fall out. So when we put the pom-poms together with our floral wire, we are going to want to put it through this belt. But I'll show you that when we get there. So go ahead and finish cutting our pom-pom. And try to keep the white side on the white side and the black stuff on the black side. With your tails, just go ahead and wiggle them onto the white side. Unless you used black for your belt, then you can go ahead and wiggle that to the black side. Okay, so we have a pom-pom, not quite fully shaped yet. We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take this to the garbage can, give it a little haircut, make it round so it matches our green one, and then we will move forward. Okay, welcome back. We have our pom-pom. Our little white hairs are being rebellious, but that's okay. We'll give our pom-pom character. So, now that we have our pom-poms created, we have our head and we have our body. So, the next step I want to show you is the hair. This part is a little bit more tedious and definitely not necessary. So if you don't want the hair, your pom-pom Loki would look something like this, which does look pretty good, but for added texture and effect, I decided to give him hair, which I'll show you how to do now. So you are going to need the black yarn again. So we're going to set our pom-poms aside. So I have a giant skein of yarn that I'll just put to the side. So to make the hair, you're going to want a piece of yarn about 6 to 8 inches long. This is going to be our new belt for the hair, because the hair is going to consider its own pom-pom set. So we'll put that to the side. For the rest, go ahead and get 4 to 5 pieces that are about 2.5 to 3 inches long. It does not have to be an exact science. It's just exciting, I guess you could say. So maybe about 3 to 4 inches long. It doesn't necessarily matter. The longer you have it, the longer his hair will be, and so the more of a haircut he'll need. So go ahead, I'm going to do about 4 inches, and you need about 5 of these 4-inch lengths. Okay, so these are our 5 4-inch lengths. Say that 3 times fast. So you're going to take your belt, lay that here. So with our 4-inch piece of yarn, if you look at it closely, it is spiraling one direction, or being spun one direction. So if you spin the yarn one way, the little lines get tighter. If you spin it the other way, the lines get looser. In this regard, we want to spin them till they're looser, and then once they are lines, because they're no longer being woven together, you want to separate them. Now for me, I have long fingernails. This is easy to do. If you don't, you can always use a pencil or a pair of scissors, but you just want to go ahead and just separate these 4 pieces. So once you have them separated, they're a lot more easy to handle. Again, I've been holding them with my thumb and ring finger just to keep a hold of it so it doesn't fly away. But you're going to take one of those threads and just pull it all the way out and then lay it in the center of our new belt. So again, you're going to take one of the 4, pull it, and then lay it so it lays about halfway on the belt and halfway on the length of the yarn. So you're going to do that for all of the pieces. Okay, so we now have all of our pieces of yarn. They've been separated with the different parts. And so now we're going to make the hair. So with your belt, go ahead and tie a tight knot in the center of our hair. I do apologize if this is hard to see black against black, but hopefully you're following along pretty well. So tie it along pretty tight and then do a double knot. And then with our 2 belt pieces, go ahead and we want to separate these ones as well. I recommend going to the base of the yarn closest to the knot and separating it from there. That way you can just pull all 4 out and you don't have to worry about untangling them at the bottom. So go ahead and do that for both sides. By the way, this makes for a really fun hair for other characters. I also like to do this for horses or unicorns. This makes particularly fun fluffy tails. For those types, you're going to want more than just 5 pieces of yarn. You'll probably want closer to 10 or 15, depending on how full and bulky you want your tail. So anyways, here is our hair. As you can see, our belt ones are a little bit longer than the rest of them, but don't worry, we'll give them a haircut. So we now have our head pom-pom, our body, and our hair. Now we're going to go ahead and need our floral wire and our floral cutters. So here they are. So what you're going to want to do is we want to first measure how tall our pom-pom's going to be. So remember we were talking about that belt? We want the belt to be going this way. So with our belt, if you squish the pom-pom relatively gently, you can feel that it's hollow kind of, versus if you squeeze it like on the face of the white and the face of the black, there should be a little bit more tension. You can almost feel the belt. So if you ever lose where your belt is, you can just give your little pom-pom a squeeze, and when you feel that weird hollow, that means you're squeezing the belt this way, which is what you want. So right here I have my belt is this way on this pom-pom, and then for this one my belt is also this way on this pom-pom. So we're going to put them together like this. So our pom-poms are roughly going to be this tall. So when we cut our floral wire, we want it to be roughly the length of the pom-pom. You want it to be a tiny bit bigger because we're going to be bending the ends in to hold the pom-pom in place. You can't really tell, but on the bottom side you can see we're gonna have the floral wire go through the pom-pom, and then it's gonna hook back and pull back for the pom-pom to hold itself together. So to do that, we want to measure roughly. So our pom-pom is roughly this size. So we we want a little bit of wiggle room so that we can make it pretty well. So I'd recommend giving maybe a good finger length on either side of the pom-pom. And then go ahead and give it a cut there. When cutting wire, make sure you hold on to both pieces. If you don't, one will go flying. The one that you're not holding will end up across the room. So just be careful when cutting the wire with your wire cutters. Make sure you are being careful. Hold on to both pieces before cutting. Okay, next, to build the pom-pom, we actually want to start with the hair. So you're going to take your wire and you're going to find our knot, our belt, and you want to go ahead and try to weave the wire through the knot as best as you can. So if you find, again, I apologize, it's hard to see with black yarn, but just go ahead and find your knot and wiggle the wire through the knot, like so. Okay, so now that we have the yarn on our wire, we want to go ahead and bend the wire. So this is when a second set of pliers are helpful. You want to go ahead and just bend the little, just bend it back so it makes a U. You can open up a little bit so it's more of a V. Go ahead and slide our hair to the back part of our V. And then we want to go ahead and we're going to add it to our pom-pom head. So decide which side you want it to be. Once you have decided which side is top versus the bottom, go ahead. You want to insert, so remember, like I said, the pom-pom belt is like this on this pom-pom. So we want to put the floral wire through the center of the pom-pom. So we're going to do that by inserting the wire between the white and the black. You're just going to push it all the way through. If a piece of yarn comes out, that's totally okay. We need to just kind of shove it through the middle of the pom-pom. So you're going to pull the wire all the way through until you feel a lot of resistance. Don't pull too much, but you want to pull it until all the hair is more connected with the pom-pom. So now we have a head of a pom-pom with some very crazy hair. Next, we want to just go ahead and add the body. So again, find your belt, put it through the belt, and put your thumb of your opposite hand against the top of the wire where the hair is. That way you can push your pom-pom against it and it won't pop out. And again, if any pieces of yarn come out when you push the wire through, that's totally fine. Okay, next, now that we have the hair and the body on the pom-pom, we need to go ahead and finish it off now. So if you go ahead, put your thumb on the base of the head, and then with your first and index finger, your first and middle finger, go ahead and push down on the pom-pom so that it squishes it. We're going to take our wire, our pliers, and we're going to go about halfway down, and we're going to bend it so it makes a U. So it goes back into the green pom-pom. Now flip it over. We want to put our thumb at the base of the bend and then push the green one down so it goes into the floral wire. There we go. Now we have the body of Loki with hair. So I recommend giving Loki a haircut. With this one, I kind of made his hair so it wasn't too much longer than the pom-pom, so it doesn't interfere too much with the green of the pom-pom. So go ahead, and I would do this over the garbage can, but up to you. But yeah, go ahead and just give him a basic little haircut and see how they feel or fall. So for me, that's still relatively long, so we want to give him a little bit more of a haircut. Make sure all the little pieces fall down. There we go. Okay, so relatively that's the same. We do have one outlier, so let's go ahead and give him a little trim. But overall, that's pretty good. And if you find that your floral wire keeps sticking out kind of like a sore thumb, if you take a black Sharpie or a black marker, you can color that so that it's not as visible. So just take your marker or Sharpie and just color the top part of your floral wire. Okay, there we go. So now the next part I would call is paperwork. So we want to go ahead and give him an outfit as well as a crown and horns. We'll work on his little weapon doodad a little bit later. So for his outfit, I have just regular paper. This is cardstock. Now I picked green because this color green seems to match Loki pretty well. If you want a different one or want to feature a different outfit, use the correct color as you see fit. I would change this body pom-pom color to whatever color outfit that you want to use. So I picked dark green because I was going to use dark green paper. If you wanted to feature, say he was in jail at one point, I think he was wearing an orange jumpsuit, you could probably do an orange pom-pom if you wanted to give him an orange jumpsuit outfit. So just keep that in mind. So next we want to kind of measure our pom-pom. Our pom-pom is a little on the fat side, which is totally fine. So you're going to take your piece of paper. This looks like it might be relatively enough length. So just go ahead, put your pom-pom down and make a little burrito. We're just getting a measurement idea. So yes, this length of paper looks like it will be long enough. You do want a little bit of overlap. It's kind of hard to tell because I've already glued him, but the overlap on this particular one looks like to be about an inch. You want about an inch of overlap on the back side of the pom-pom. That way the glue has enough to hold on to and it won't unstick itself. The next thing we want to measure is how tall we want his clothes. I recommend covering pretty much the entire lower pom-pom, kind of like we did here. So if you just want to lay your pom-pom down, if you have a pencil, you can mark it. It's pretty easy, but or you can eyeball it. But you want your paper to be roughly that thick. Each pom-pom will be different. That's why I'm not giving a particular measurement. Usually it's about an inch though. Okay. I'm going to use a little bit bigger scissors this time because this is just paper and it's a straight line, so why not use the better scissors. Just cut as straight as you can. If you have special like paper cutter stuff tools, that works. Otherwise just go zip like that. Okay, so we have our piece of paper. Next, for outfits, normally I like to put the design in the middle. Sometimes there are different cases where you'd put your designs on the flaps so that when they meet in the middle, you can do some kind of fun design if you want. In this instance, I found best to put the glue on the back side of the pom-pom and put your design kind of in the middle. Now with this piece of paper, it is kind of naturally curving. I think it's because I measured it that way. So it's best to do the design on the opposite so it still keeps that kind of natural curve. So now for the fun part of Loki. What I like to do is look up a picture on the internet to base my design off of. So that's what I did when I was designing and looking for Loki. And so I just did a regular basic Google search to find a good picture of Loki and how I want him to look. So here is our Google. So I was looking around and I really liked this idea of his armor. So this was a better picture that I was able to look at. You can kind of zoom in and see him. So based off this kind of fuzzy picture, we kind of got this, I got this design from it. Now I did all of this with Sharpies. I find that Sharpies tend to work really well. You can use markers. I reckon maybe not using such a dark paper if you do want to use markers, but that is up to you and what you'd like to do. So for this instance, I used a dark gray, I used black, and then I used bronze metallic for this particular outfit design. For his scepter, I did use brown as well as the silver metallic, but we don't need these right now, but just keep them handy. So for this design for our outfit, we want to go ahead. I like to start with the gray. The gray, if you look on this outfit, turns out to be really, really light and is really fun for just more detail. So just a fun FYI. So with his outfit, it kind of has two straight lines and then it had some angled effects. So around the center of our piece of paper, I'm going to go ahead and draw And then also, I like the collar effect. It just looks better on outfits. So I'm going to start so if my finger is the center, I'm going to go ahead and just draw around my finger. So I'm going to go ahead and start at the top with a little angle, go down like that, make a mirror image all the way down. And then, like I said, we had those fun flaps. So go ahead and do an angle like that, down and then over. And then in the picture, it's a little bit hard. It's leathery. So for fun effect, I kind of went this left, right, left, right, left, right. And then also just for more texture, I gave him 3 little lines on the left and the right past his middle. Okay. So we're done with this pen. Don't throw it away, but just you can put it to the side for now. One more little tidbit is I think it looks nice when you have a little bit of a neckline. So now that we have our basic design on our paper, I'm going to take our scissors and I'm going to cut a little U out to give it kind of like a neckline. And it kind of looks a little bit better, at least I say, on the pom-pom. It fits more naturally and looks more like clothing. So like I said, I just cut a little tidbit from the top to give it more of a neckline. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do the black. The black is going to be more for highlights or just more for extra detail. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line down on our main body, as well as maybe a line to the sides. And then don't draw directly over, but mirror and copy, not mirror, kind of ghost your first original designs. And then looks like that's all I did with the black. Next is the bronze. Bronze is always fun. So on this picture, it's very clear and bold that there is a necklace U-type shape on his neckline. So we're going to go ahead and draw a U. And then I like to go back and forth. That way you get more of a uniformed U. And if you don't trust your drawing capabilities and think that you might miss, like this is a black table, you can always draw on top of a piece of paper. That way you don't have to worry about accidentally missing. You hit the paper rather than the desk or the table. Next, his flare out collars, I colored bronze because I think it looks cool. There we go. And then last, just for added effect and because I really like it, I did teeny tiny highlights of the bronze throughout his outfit. Now, if you want to add more detail or if you want more doodads, go for it. I found that, like I said, if you looked at this, you'd think, you kind of know this is Loki. So that was my idea for his outfit. Now, if you'd like, we're gonna go ahead and put the outfit on him. So instead of gluing the outfit to the body, I actually like to make the body come off like that. So that way if you want to, if something were to happen to the paper or if you want to change his outfit, you can. His mask and horns, I did glue to his head, so he will forever have this beautiful mask on. But we'll worry about the mask later. So for our outfit, we want to go ahead and, again, make sure that our piece of paper fits. So we'll go ahead and put it on, move the hair, we don't want that in the way, and then fold the body on the back side over. So we want to be relatively snug, but like I just showed you, we want to be able to pull it out and then put it back on. So just keep a general, like this is a good size. So what we want to do is just get an, again, idea of how this is comfortably fitting. So for this instance, you can use your pencil if you'd like. The paper needs to come to about this line. Okay, so we're gonna remove the pom-pom, and I drew my line inside, just in case you don't want to see it at the end. So we know we need it to glue where's our pencil line, to here, and then this will fit our pom-pom. So I'm going to go ahead and use our handy dandy glue. This is fabric glue. You can use probably craft glue, whatever glue's clear. There we go. That was kind of a lot. So go ahead and you want to spread this out. So you will have a little extra glue, but that's okay. So we want to go ahead and pull it out. Again, make sure your ends get to the end. You want the end of the paper to be glued all the way. And then we have to let this sit because we have glue everywhere now and we want that to dry. Next, let's go ahead and talk about his headpiece and his horns. Like I mentioned, I have this fun bedazzle paper. Pros and cons of this bedazzle paper. This paper is very thick and the back side is a weird plastic that does not like markers, pencils, or anything on the back side. So I found that for his horns, I wanted gold on both sides. I went ahead and I glued 2 pieces together and then cut it out. And so I also made a template for the mask because I didn't know quite how I wanted it to look on him. And so I went to my infamous Google and looked up a good mask picture. So this was what I found. And so I decided to make a template out of extra paper that I had. I like to use these little cards, cardstock, because I don't like the lines, but I have a lot of it, so they make perfect for templates. So I made the template like this, and I put it on his face, and I was like, that looks pretty darn close if I do say so myself. So that's how I came up with this idea. I just literally drew it and then tried it out and then actually cut it out. From our gold paper, I cut a square that's relatively the same size as our mask. And so I take my pencil and I copy the outline like that. And then with our heavy duty scissors, this is, like I said, a thick paper, so it's really hard to do with the thread cutters, and plus it does make them really dull really fast. So I recommend heavier duty scissors. Let's go ahead and cut out our template. Anyways, here's our mask. It does look a little lopsided. You can keep cutting it to kind of make it more even if you'd like. Recommended, because I'm a weirdo that way. And for that type of cutting in detail, you can probably use your wire cutters, your thread cutters, just because they can get in a little bit more detail and you can do tinier little snippets to help. So there we go. So we have our gold mask. Now for the horns. I did find that because I'm using this paper and because the back side is such a pain in the butt, it is best to glue them together and then cut the design out after it dries. So we do have 2 horns, and these horns are roughly that big. So we need the paper to be roughly that big, preferably a little bit bigger. So we're gonna go ahead and just give that a little cut. And since we're doing 2 horns, roughly that big. So you want this to be a tiny bit bigger. Okay, so we have 1 square. This will be 1 horn. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this in half, in the middle as much as possible. And then we're gonna use our handy dandy glue and glue these bad boys together. Okay, go ahead and squish it, roll them around a little bit, get the glue everywhere, squish it, try not to get glue on your fingers, and then we need this to dry. And we gotta do this twice, because we got 2 horns. Yay. Well, you can just use the same dimensions as previously. That's straight. Okay, and then cut it in half. Glue. stick, and squish. It's like an ice cream sandwich, right? Keep in mind of the extra glue if you have a piece of paper, or I find that Kleenex or toilet paper is also really good to have on hand for glue. Okay, let's take a look at that. So this is drying pretty well. Still a little bit wet. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let those dry. We have most of our components now, and we'll be able to assemble once these are dry. So we'll be back once they're dry. Okay, welcome back. Our pieces have dried and we are ready to cut out our horns for Loki. So being that this is more of a delicate cut, I did decide to do it with my thread cutters. It just is easier because now it's super thick and kind of hard. You can definitely try to do it with these scissors, but I would recommend the little more delicate, dainty ones. So for our horns, in general, it's gonna be kind of this shape, and so just go ahead and start cutting, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we have our two horns. It is a little bit more difficult to cut, like I mentioned, but it is possible, especially with these little scissors. Just gotta be careful. They're as close as I want to make them. I don't want to do any extra cuts. I do see they're a bit off, but once you put them on your Pompom Pet, no one's gonna know. Okay, so next is we get to build and put everything together. So let's go ahead and try out our clothes for our pom-pom. Fits rather well, which is good. And then next is the glue. We want to do some eyes and a mouth. It is a little bit hard to see, but I did give him a little mouth. That is from just basic white paper. So let's go ahead and do that. I found an easiest way to do that is if you have a corner, you can just cut the corner off. And then with our thread cutters, go ahead and just round off all three edges. So from down here, you want to, this will be the lower part of the mouth. Just go ahead and give it a little edge, and then you can aim up and then flip it over. Kind of difficult to do with long nails, but not impossible. And try to get the mouth to be the same on both sides. So there's our mouth. And then I like to do black beads for eyes. I did notice that with beads, they do tend to be different sizes. They are all the same general size, but there are also different sizes within them. So example, this one is relatively bigger versus this one's relatively smaller. Now this might just be me being micro picky, but if I had to pick two for eyes, I'd pick those two because they're closer in size than those two. But anyways, go ahead and put that away now. So we have our mouth, our eyes, our mask, and our horns. We are almost done, you guys. And then I'll show you a little tidbit on how to do that, which is really easy to do. So we're gonna go ahead and knead our glue. And make sure the tip is all clean because we do need some precision detail here. So from my pom-pom here, I am seeing that there is a really big white one, a really big white piece of yarn. If you want, you can go ahead and give that just a little cut. That way he doesn't stick out like an outlier. But it's up to you, and again, your pom-pom, your Pompom Pet. So being that we have a mask that's going to be kind of centered and featured on his face, I recommend, if you're using the heavy duty paper, go ahead and just give it a little bit of a bend at the forehead. So you want to bend it in, and then on the cheek ones, bend it back. That just helps go to the contour of the face, like that. So I find that it's best to glue the mask on first and then add the eyes, because the mask is going to determine where the eyes can go. So I'm just going to do a little bit of glue all the way along, and then we're going to just glue it to his face. Kind of in the center of his face, like so. And then from there, I like to use my scissors because it's more of a pinprint, a poke. Go ahead and you can make 2 little holes, one for the eyes. I recommend doing it with your scissors or with a pencil rather than the glue, because the glue nose is nice, but the glue nose does have glue on it. So rather than getting glue all over his face, just use the scissors to make a little hole. Put a little dollop of glue in each of our little eye holes, and then also one for his mouth. We'll do the eyes first, so go ahead and pick up your bead, drop it in, give it a little push to go in there, and then for our other bead, we'll drop and a push. And then with our dot of glue for the mouth, I find that if you wet your finger just a tiny bit with your tongue and then dry it off, you're able to pick up pieces of paper rather easily if they're small. So that might be a trick for smaller pieces of paper. Go ahead and drop that onto his face and then navigate it towards the glue so it can sit there. You can make his smile straight, you can make it crooked. Loki is one of those types of characters that he can get away with either type of smile because he's that type of a trickster. Keep in mind the mask is still wet and not set in stone yet, so if you do want to wiggle it or make any adjustments, I'm just noticing that his face is a little puffy, so I'm going to go ahead and give his face a little haircut. That will help with his smile getting into the right spot. You can also adjust his eyes. Everything is adjustable while the glue is wet. Once the glue is dry, things aren't quite as easy to negotiate. So, Loki is coming together. Next is his horns. So, setting him so he stands on the table, we can see his forehead. Go ahead and just keep his hair back a little bit, just for simplicity. With our scissors, like we mentioned, we're going to make 2 more little holes. We're just moving the yarn out of the way so we can make sure we can put the horns into the pom-pom. So again, we're just like making a little part for our horns. Go ahead and put 2 dots of glue in our 2 holes. And then go ahead and put in the horns. 1 and 2. There we go! Look at that, you guys! We did Loki! How exciting! Cool, so Loki is now officially done. He does need to dry, so I recommend giving him plenty of time, at least an hour. I like to do overnight before actually doing much with him, but there we go. We officially now have Loki. So let's go ahead and see if we can make his scepter. So we'll set him to the side here. So for his scepter, I do have a pre-made store-bought pom-pom. It is blue because the weapon has a blue gluey thingy, the Tesseract, I think that's what it's called. It's blue. These are just store-bought pom-poms. They come in a variety of colors as well as super duper tiny. But we don't want super duper tiny, we just want really tiny. So I just picked the blue one because it matched the weapon, and then I also went to our handy dandy Google to look up a design for our weapon, and so that is where I got this design / model for our weapon. So first off, we're gonna want to go ahead and start with a piece of paper. So again, this is just regular cardstock, and so it's good. It's definitely lightweight and is a little bit heavy for the pom-pom, but just for decorative purposes, it works just fine. So we're gonna want to design the scepter to hold the pom-pom. I did put glue on there so it does not fall out, but it's always good to just keep that in mind. Being that Loki is this tall, we don't want a scepter that's like this big. We want something that's relatively his size. If anything, this is a tad bit on the big side, but I think it still looks pretty good. So with our handy dandy Google, we can find what the scepter kind of looks like and gives us a general idea of what to look for. So I think my design was pretty close. So just with that general information and idea, let's go ahead and make one. I used the metallic pen, the black Sharpie, the silver metallic, as well as brown. So these were the 4 that I used. So it is good to determine the size of the pom-pom because we want the scepter to be able to hold it pretty snugly. So with the general idea of how big our pom-pom is, draw your scepter accordingly. So okay, next we want to make sure that our scepter can hold our pom-pom. It's a little bit on the snug side, but I think that will work. It doesn't quite come out to the point that I was wanting. Being that this is just a simple cardstock, you can always just redraw it if you'd like, or you can just keep going with the flow, whatever works best for you guys. Being that the Tesseract, based off of our picture model, does have that point that does come out really well, I think I will redraw it and try it again. Okay, this one works out pretty well. It's a little on the loose side, but that's what glue's for, so I figured this one will be okay. So let's go ahead and color it in. Based off the picture of the Tesseract, it's a little bit on the simple side. There's not too much I can do for detail. That's why I did the black lines. One note is the metallic Sharpies will go over the non-metallic ones, but the non-metallic ones will not go over the metallic ones. Example, if I draw a silver line here, the brown does not very well go over the silver, but the silver will go over the brown very easily. So it's best to draw with the matte, the normal ones first. That way you can kind of correct it along the way if you'd like with the metallic one. So with our black, I kind of just had it kind of just hold the blades, the 2 blades there, and then for decorative purposes I just put a couple lines along the handle. And then what's nice about white paper is it bleeds pretty well, so you can just follow exactly where your lines were. With the metallic, I went ahead and did that next. Just follow the black lines. Again, try not to overdraw or overcolor on the black because it will make it go away. So there we are, we have our weapon, and now we're just going to go ahead and glue it to the handle. Try gluing the pom-pom, so I'm going to just give it a mohawk of glue in a half circle, and then I'm going to glue it carefully to the interior of my weapon as centered as possible. Okay. That is very wet glue. I recommend letting that sit and dry. But congratulations everybody, we have officially finished our Loki. I hope you really enjoyed that process. Please hit like, hit subscribe. I'd love to hear in the comments if you'd like any other suggestions on who you'd like to see as a pom-pom pet. I love the challenge, I love the creativity, and I would just love to hear from you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and then keep an eye out. You can always check out and see what else might be in the works. You can also check out my Etsy shop. Some of these will be available at my store. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.